This is definitely going to be probably one of my hardest videos to do, just because there's so much information that I just want to relay to you, and I don't know if I can effectively do it. But this is something that I really want to address because I want to make everyone an informed consumer. And, this is not a political channel, so I'm keeping this as apolitical as possible. And I don't really want to persuade you either way to my way of thinking or to anyone else's way of thinking. I just want to make you an informed consumer just so you're careful, or at least you're informed about where you're putting your money to as far as products and services go in the tech world. So you might have saw a recent article on Reddit that gained a lot of traction about Verizon installing spyware on all the Android devices. Now, since that article was posted, Verizon PR came out, made a statement, the article was retracted, and they're reviewing all the information. Essentially, the whole idea behind the article was that Verizon was going to install software on all the Android devices that would assist the user in finding apps and stuff like that. And in reality, since these apps will be installed within a system partition, they have access to all the user data, they could collect the search data, send it to Verizon, and Verizon could rightfully sell it and do whatever else they want to do with it. So when I first read the article, my first comment to myself was, what's the big deal? It's just a simple app that I can go in, disable, problem solved. However, I was thinking about it further, and I realized that people who know how to do this, like people like you who are watching right now, that's like 1% of the tech population. Most of the people out there are going to be completely unaware that this is even happening. And I'm not here to antagonize Verizon because they are not the only carrier to do this. You might recall in early 2010 and 2011, there's the whole Carrier IQ app, which manufacturers were installing on their phone like HTC. And in fact, I actually wrote a letter to HTC basically telling them about my disapproval and how I think it's such a bad idea that they're doing it. But the Carrier IQ app was kind of the same situation where it collected data without users knowing it and sent it to various locations. And I think the reason why this article gained so much traction was because of the recent Joint Resolution 34 that passed the House and Senate. There was a bill introduced in the House and Senate that recently passed, and this bill gave ISPs back the right to collect your user data. It was really never illegal for your internet service provider or carrier to go in, get your personal data, and sell that information or kind of do whatever they want with that information. In the final few months of the previous administration, 2016, the FCC decided that, ISPs need to treat that information with the same sensitivity that they treat your social security number and other healthcare medical information. Now, the new administration came in and they didn't like that regulation, so there was that bill introduced that passed the House and Senate narrowly, and I'm sure you can guess which political party was for and against the bill, but basically the bill allowed ISPs to retain the right to collect user data and be able to sell it and do whatever they want with it. And I also feel like many Americans are just either unaware or don't care. And I think for the first point, as far as being unaware, I think companies, this is their opportunity to really make a positive impact. It's okay if ISPs and carriers want to collect and advertise personal information, but at least make it aware to users. Don't just blindly implement it in their apps and in their phones. Send them a notification, make them aware that they are doing this, and give them the option to opt out of it, or at least provide some sort of dashboard where users can see the information and the type of information that is being collected. I know most of you watching are probably more of the IT enthusiasts, so you might see this and you might say, oh, this is a simple solution. Just disable the apps, get a custom ROM, root your phone, and that's good for like the 1 or 2% of the population that know how to do that, but the majority of users have no clue about what that is, and they'll continue using their phones and services being unaware that the information that they're putting on their phones is being transmitted somewhere else and potentially sold. And I mention this to people a lot of times. I talk to people about privacy a lot of times. And the biggest argument everyone always says is, I have nothing to hide. Why should I care? And In some circumstances, you're absolutely right. On an individual basis, you do not matter. But I think the issue really comes in as the collective whole. If a collective group starts saying that they have nothing to hide, why do they care? Well, now we're normalizing the invasion of privacy. We're now telling companies it's okay to come in and collect our personal data and sell it. We're saying it's okay. And and maybe you might believe it is okay. Like I said, I don't want to persuade you either way. If you're fine with it, then so be it. But I think there are also a lot of people who are saying that's a clear invasion of privacy. And I'm not trying to say either that I'm a tinfoil hat privacy freak, because I am not. If I really was, I would not be using an Android phone with Google services. I would not be using Windows 10. There are a whole lot of things I would not be using. One thing I do like about those services is that, well, number one, I have choice. With Android, I know that I do not have to use Google services with an Android phone. It would suck, but I don't have to. And Google themselves, they collect a whole lot of information, and they are far from being the perfect company when it comes to transparency for the information that they collect. However, they at least try to do a somewhat decent job. They do have a dashboard where you can see the information that they collect, and there are a lot of their services that you can opt out of. And another argument to the I have nothing to hide, why should I care, is how do you know that you don't have anything to hide? I think a lot of people say that and they assume I'm not doing drugs, I'm not doing human trafficking, so what do I have to worry about? And that's true. But even if you use your phone for Facebook, Google, YouTube, that information at some point can still be used against you. Think about with Facebook, how, a lot right now with Facebook, you have to have everything private because your employer can go in and see what you're posting and use that information against you. Well, with your search history and stuff like that, that's a little bit harder to do for the average consumer. And also, if there's a vulnerability, now we're saying if someone can go in and view your data, there's a backdoor where people can go in and inject information into your data. So if someone wants to blackmail you, well, now they just made it a lot easier to go in and inject information that's not yours, but now we can claim that it is yours. So there are a lot of different circumstances we have to think about where it's not just about doing anything illegal, but it's about information that can be used against you. Even if it's harmless information in your eyes, it could still be used against you. And there's also the possibility to inject malicious data and info that could be used against you. If you don't mind data collection, it's fine. Okay, just continue using your products. But if this stuff is bothering you, feel free to try to switch services or do something like as far as voting for your wallet, saying, I'm not going to support this service. I'm not going to buy this service or buy this phone because they are taking part of this data collection. And because companies, I feel like, listen to that. I mean, money speaks louder than anything else. But again, I know in all situations, that's not always possible to do. So, guys, I just want to make you informed about this. I feel like this is one of those issues that no one in the tech world really talks about too much, and it's not really vocalized as much as what it should be. And we're at the point where a lot of this is unfortunately normalized data collection, user data. People think it's normal, people don't really care, but there's a lot of reasons why they should care, and it's a really sticky situation. But anyway, I do want to hear your thoughts about this, so definitely leave them down below. But yeah, that's all I got, guys. Yeah, see you in the next one.